Been talking about Chris Billam-Smith going in against Richard Riakporhe this Saturday night, but there's plenty of boxing to look forward to because Wasserman boxing on Channel 5 continues this week. Abbas Baru up against Mcgowan. Delighted to say the head of boxing at Wasserman, Kalle Sauerland, joins us live on the show. Kalle, good afternoon to you.
Gentlemen, how are you?
We are very well, thank you, Kalle. Simon's with me, so too is Spence. I think we're all agreed at the moment. Boxing is booming, not just here, but obviously in Saudi Arabia, and here too, with what you're doing on Channel 5, with what talkSPORT is going to be broadcasting on Saturday night with Riakporhe up against Billam-Smith. Your sport is flying at the moment, Kalle, correct?
Yeah, now look, it's the start of the Euros on Friday. It's Scotland versus Germany. We've got straight after the match, tune over, Channel 5. You've got a European title, Scotland versus Germany, Mcgowan versus Barrow. Fantastic night of action. And we've also got Lerone Richards returning to the ring, who is looking to stage a world title run, which is fantastic news for us. Looking forward to that. And keep an eye out for Dan Toward, who's also on the televised part of the card. Yeah. A real up-and-comer. So, these Channel 5 cards, they throw up amazing action. I think of the last year, out of the top 10 British fights, 2, and don't forget we only did 6 shows last year, 2 of them came from the Channel 5 event. So they always throw up great fights, and it's live and free on Channel 5 Friday night.
Yeah, Kalle, it does look like a great card, actually, but I want to talk to you about Macaulay Mcgowan. I mean, what a fairy tale story this is. This is
what
all
a
about...
story, eh? Spencer, I knew you'd pick up on that.
I had to,
what
mate.
What a story.
I had
what
to.
A story, eh? Labourer by day, boxer by night. Fighting for... It's not some journeyman. He's fighting for the European title on Saturday night. You have to be... I mean, Spence, I'll let you explain that part.
Yeah, listen, look, Macaulay Mcgowan is one of those kids, he travels on the road. We was out in France, actually, when Dan Aziz boxed for the European title out in France. He boxed in the undercard against an Olympian French guy, undefeated. He won the fight, but never got the decision as expected out there. But he's one of those guys, as Gumshield, will travel, fight anyone, anywhere. And he's just got this great opportunity. He's gone in there. He's had a couple of good victories, and you've presented him with this opportunity, and he deserves that. He trains up there with Joe Gallagher. Joe's done a great job with him. I spoke to Macaulay last week actually about this fight, and and the opportunity for it. He said, "Listen, Spence, I'm going to prove people wrong." You go back to, when was it, 1995, when Steve Robinson beat John Davison for the world featherweight title. He just got that opportunity out of nowhere. He was that sort of fighter where it was like win some, lose one, and it was like that. He goes, but he took that opportunity and he turned himself into a great champion. Macaulay said he's going to repeat that. He wants to do that as well.
But those are the storylines that we watch boxing for, especially the mainstream. It comes from the Rocky movies. That's why you watch boxing. Yes, of course, the great big heavyweight championship fights, but nobody loves a storyline like the labourer becoming European champion. It's no other sport that throws it up. Impossible. And to watch that, so do not miss it. Friday night, straight after the Scotland-Germany game.
Excellent. Sounds like a good one. Listen, Kalle, I don't want to rain on your parade, but it was publicised recently that yourselves and Chris Eubank Jr. had parted ways. What happened with that?
All good things come to an end, Jim. All good things come to an end. Listen, it was a great, close to 10 years, going back to the, I think the first fight we did with him was out in Denmark. But really, it was the World Boxing Super Series. Had a great time. Love him, love the whole team. Wish him nothing but the best. We reached an amicable agreement. And that's the way boxing rolls. So, good luck to him. We move on. We're very happy with our stable. We made a few additions. Lerone Richards, I just mentioned. Charlie Edwards. We've obviously got Josh Kelly at the world #1 spot. So I think out of those 3, 2 in 12 months' time will be world champions. So that's what we're building on. Dan Toward, Tom Welland, just a couple of the names that we've also got added to the roster. So we've got 20, 25 fighters at the moment, and that's the sort of level we want to be at.
I mean, what I'd want to know, Kalle, why it appears that you and Eubank Jr. weren't singing from the same hymn sheet any longer. What was there any one reason for it, or was it a number of things? What was it?
It was an amicable agreement. That's all I can say, Jim.
Okay. Interestingly,
Sorry.
Spencer, coming back, what's next for Eubank Jr.? Well, it could well be a gentleman that you and I watched perform very spectacularly over in Saudi Arabia recently, and that was Hamza Shiraz, who had a phenomenal win out in Saudi. And when we arrived back in London, I spoke to him about what might be next for him, and he mentioned the name Chris Eubank Jr.
In an ideal world, if I could wave a magic wand and make it all happen, it'd be the Chris Eubank Jr. fight. Reason being is because I feel he's the biggest name domestically, and bar the Conor Benn fight for him, I feel like I'm the biggest fight out there for next. Do I think it's going to happen? No, not really. I don't think it's going to happen, and I feel like I'll get the WBC title shot instead. I feel like that's the more realistic way I'm going to go about things in the route. But listen, I'm not complaining. Whatever. Chris Eubank Jr., WBC world title, whatever it is, both options are great in terms of my career, financially and whatever, so I'm not complaining.
So if that was to happen, Kalle, Hamza Shiraz against Chris Eubank Jr., you, like ourselves, would be looking at that from an observer's point of view, really.
Cracking fight.
Would that be a good one?
First of all, cracking fight. What storyline? You've got let's say the season campaign of the Lion in Eubank, and you've got the young challenger in Hamza Shiraz. Not saying that Junior's not young, but Hamza's slightly younger and fresher to the scene. It's a fantastic fight. If it gets made, I will love to watch that. Absolutely brilliant fight.
Did Chris Eubank Jr.'s trajectory, though, in the time you had him, in the time you worked with him, did it go the way you expected, Kalle?
We like in any relationship in sport, Jim, you'll know this, Spencer, you'll know this. There's ups and there's downs, and we celebrated the ups. We're together for the lows, and that's what I'll look back on very fondly. Again, I can look at the highs and talk about the highs now. Whether that was that big win out in Germany against Yildirim when a lot of people were writing him off. The Liam Smith, the second fight. When everyone had written him off. And my emotions after that fight, everyone who watched it could see me jumping in the ring, how happy I was. That's why I do these sports still. I've been doing it 24 years. I've been lucky to be around 40 world champions I've promoted, 7 heavyweight world champions from Evander Holyfield, Valuev, the Klitschko brothers, David Haye, so Povetkin. I know the highs, I know the lows. You never crow when you're high. You never cry when you're low. It's as simple as that, and that's how I see it.
Yeah. Does that one float your boat on the horizon? Shiraz against Eubank Jr., Spence?
Absolutely. It's a fight that I'd love to see. I think that it's a great fight for Hamza Shiraz at this stage of his career, and it's a great fight for Chris Eubank Jr. What we got to understand about Chris is he's very business minded. He understands where it would be. I think that for Chris, there is an opportunity for him to go and get a world title fight against a lesser known name. Would be less money. So if Chris fancies the job, then yeah, absolutely. I mean that one would be superb to see.
Yeah. And Jim, I've got to say, Hamza Shiraz really came for me onto my radar. I've obviously heard about him on the scene the whole time, but when he beat Liam Williams in the first round, and then he's really burst onto the scene. So it's such an interesting matchup. If it gets made, it's fantastic.
Okay, Kalle, thank you very much indeed. Kalle, head of boxing at Wasserman, and Wasserman Boxing on Channel 5 continues this week, as you heard. Abbas Barrow against Macaulay Mcgowan, and it's European light middleweight title. Macaulay Mcgowan, labourer by trade during the day, fighter by night. He won't be laying any breaks on Friday, I wouldn't have thought, because you get a very big event against this fellow for a title as well. Stay with us as we head up to 1:45.